Tell me how you met your husband.
My husband.
Tell me the story about when you first met.
The first time I met my husband was when I say we, that was my pastor, my mother, my cousin Amy, Lenny, Pulley, Stanley Witter, brother Edwin.
So you were in church at this point. You'd made the transition.
Yeah, I made the transition from Armadale Church.
Okay.
And went to Mount Moriah Church.
Okay.
And they were having some sort of a meeting there. And then when I went, Handel had already been in church because he came up the night before on the Royal Mail. He and his cousin Kenneth that died in America the other day.
Did you say the Royal Mail?
Yeah.
What, for people who don't know, what's the Royal Mail?
The Royal Mail is a van, just like over here, that took the letters.
And he got a lift off the Royal Mail van to come to church?
Well, they had seats.
Oh, okay.
Seats were provided for passengers on the Royal Mail.
Right.
So he came from his district, which was Glasgow, the night, like the Saturday night. He and his cousin Kenneth. And they went to Mount Moriah the night and stayed the night at Mount Moriah to be in church in Mount Moriah this Sunday morning. But we came on a motor vehicle this Sunday morning from Armadale. All of those passengers that you hear me call, we were in a car. All of who you hear me call.
So all of those people, because was that 6 or 8 people you just listed to?
More than that.
15
of us.
And you 15 in one car?
In one car.
How did you all fit in one car?
It was a 3-seater Ford car.
Mm-hmm.
And it has some stayed in the middle, some in the back, and some in the front. So you could imagine how we stay in it.
So how, once you come out of the car, how did you feel?
Couldn't stand. Couldn't stand up. I forgot. Immediately, you go in East City. You come out of the car in East City. And you just stand down the tell when you... Then when you gain consciousness. Anyway, when we went to church...
So you come out of the car and then did you go to church that night?
You did.
That day, sorry. Okay, go
on. When we went, we saw Handel was in church, for he came from the night before, he and Brother Kenneth. So we saw them in church. And after the break, at break time in church, and then we were introduced by the elder from that church, which was Elder Walker, to our pastor and all the names that you hear me call. And then Elder Linton and Brother Kenneth came also and was introduced to us, and one Elder Lee from Brownstown.
Okay. What were your first impressions when you saw Grandad then, when you saw Elder Linton? My
first impression, he was young and handsome really, and very high color. So seeing him and Brother Ken, we felt very pleased to know that, people were, because they always looked down on the Apostolic Church. And then seeing him, we felt very, very elated. But like say, for them the time, those days I was in school, but say husband and so on, and we could not In those days, we couldn't marry until we were 21.
Okay. And how old would you have been then when you met him?
I was about 17.
17. And how old was he?
He was, well, he was 12 years older than I was.
Right, okay.
So I wouldn't look at him, I didn't look at him, and there were the people there, and so at Brother Edwin, my cousin Clarence, and all like those. That was the first time I saw him. And then we had to go home the Sunday night, but we left them there the Sunday night because they were not going home now until they would have to go back on the Royal Mail the Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never seen him again until about 2 weeks after. There was a brother who was very poorly from the church in St. Anne's Bay. And we planned a day, a Monday, that my mother, my cousin Amy, Sister B, and Sister Fed, and myself would go and visit him, which we did. And we went there and we saw him the Monday. We spent the whole day Monday with him. And when we came back, we heard in the week that he had died.
Mm-hmm.
The brother had died. So we went back down to the brother's funeral the Saturday. And on our way from the brother's funeral, we saw your granddad across the road from a shop. And we did not know it was him because the shop was so miles. But when we looked and he saw us, he recognized that it was us. And so he came over to us and he said he should be at the funeral, but he went out with some friend that keeps the shop to get some leather. And he did not come back in time, so that's why we didn't see him at the funeral.
At which point then did you actually start courting and then you decided to get married?
I never see him again until he came to my church. He visited my church, Pastor Garden. But then I had visited my cousin in Maypen, Mavis. I went up into this Maypen's employer's car in Maypen. And while I was in Maypen, he passed in a truck and he said he saw me. I think that was about the Friday. He came back. He had the truck stopped to go to see if it was me, really. And it was really me, but I had gone into the bank with the people that I came from Maypen with. I came home the Saturday, that was the Friday, and I came home the Saturday. He wrote to my mother and asked for me. He and my mother came one day. From then, my mother must have told him yes, but he would have to, in those days we had to talk to our pastor. So he had to talk to Pastor Gordon, which he did. And then he wrote to me, but I was still going to school. And I said no, I couldn't. I was still in 17.
So you didn't want to get married at that stage?
No, I didn't want to get married at that stage. But I was waiting for my result, and I got my result, my school result, and I did not pass the exam, and I decided, my God, for me, my mother to go, I don't know where I get school fee and everything, and it would be so hard. But anyway, I decided we would get married the following year, which I would be 18. For in those days, you couldn't get married until you were 21, unless you get consent from your parents at 18. So Mama gave consent then for me to marry. So I was married at 18, and so that was how I met Handel.
So do you remember the year you got married?
Yes.
What year was that?
It was 61.
1961.
1961. It was a very lovely wedding we had. I remember having 13 cars and was very nicely dressed because my headdress and so on came from America from Sister Ivy. My dress was nicely made, which cost me, in those days my dress cost me 30 shillings, which was a lot of money. It was one of the first class dressmaker in Jamaica by the name of Joyce Wilmot. It was she who made my dress, and it was very beautiful. Every day I regret because there was a photograph man who said he would take my photograph. But I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did.
So you didn't take the photograph?
He took the photograph, but it didn't come out,
Right.
Because with Jamaica being such a lovely day, and he should have taken it in the sun. Well, it was late in the evening, so the sun was going down, there was no sunshine and so on, so everything just went but
So, amazing, beautiful wedding. What was married life like for you? So talk to me about when you met Grandad's family for the first time. What was that like for you?
it was very nice because everybody loved, not everybody, they loved me very much. Mother-in-law was very nice, and my father-in-law knew me because he used to see me at the market. And with me being Mr. Case for my father was highly recommended.
Right.
He was a well
He was a known man in the
was
district.
well known in the district.
Okay.
And had, very children that were working, eloquent and so. It was such a problem because with him being a married man, and he was related to my husband. My husband, auntie, grandaunt. My husband's father was supposed to call my father's wife aunt.
Okay.
You'll have to go work that out for
You
yourself.
I
have worked that out, but Miss Jenny, who was Mr. Casey's wife, was Handel's father, auntie. So Handel should call Miss Jenny grandaunt. You understand? Not grandaunt. She call her auntie, but me no know. Me no know them come in, but they're related. But he was not related to my father. He knew my father, but he was not related to him.
Okay.
He was related to my father's wife.
I see.
You understand? All but was to call Miss Jenny some sort of aunt, like auntie, and then Handel would call Miss Jenny another sort of auntie, like grandaunt or something. I don't remember where I go, but. So my mother-in-law was very nice, my father-in-law too. My sister-in-law, Vida, she thought I was too black for Handel.
Thought you were too black.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, was there an issue with like a caste system?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that then. How?
Well,
Because you're quite like complexion, so for
I am.
someone to say that you're too black.
Vida is darker than I am.
Okay.
But when it comes to the Linton, they are very prejudiced.
Okay.
Some of them, very prejudice. Vida was one of them. And
was she honest about this to you or to...
Oh, right before me, the very first day I met her.
So what did she say to you exactly?
I was introduced to her. She was in the room. She just had a young baby. And she came to the door. And Andel said, oh, I have carried my... This is Esme, which I'm going to get married to. So I carry her to show you, or showing the family. It was a day having me around showing most of the family that he could see. And then he said, oh, Brother Dale, oh, she's nice, but she's so black. Just like that. She's so black. Oh, you married such a black person. And oh, you so pretty. All the girls and they did over you. You know, that's how that way.
So what did he say? What did you say? What was your response at the time?
My response, not a word, but he said, you know, in that talk, this move out of the way, you old ass. See? So
that was what he said.
That, so right there and there, move out of the way, you old ass.
So he nipped it right in the bud.
Right in the bud.
At that time then, what was the main issue then, why there was such an issue with the Lintons? Is it because they were light-skinned?
All the Lintons are light-skinned. That's why the most of them, we can't talk that over. That's why the most of them marry their cousins. Always love their eye color. God would have it that she and her husband had some fuss. And she moved up the house where I lived.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved back up to my mother's house with the baby Claudette, and then also with Handel.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you were at in terms of the in-laws, and then how many children did you have eventually before you left Jamaica? How many did you have in total?
Me have 8 children, but 2 died.
Okay.
And then when me come back, me left 6 in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. And then when me come here, me have Uncle Andrew and David, 2 more.
Okay.
So make it up back.
So once you were married in Jamaica, you had children. What was life like for you then as a mother?
Oh, my dear, life was very hard. I start to get help from Sister Ivy in America with clothes and mostly food at Christmas now. And the odd time she would send me money. In those days, I could say then I have help. I would say then a better time with them more than with me, you know.
Okay, so that was the main help that you had. It was coming from overboard.
Overseas, sister.
Okay. What did Grandad do? What was his profession? What did he do a job at that time?
Grandad was a shoemaker.
Okay.
When I met him, he was a shoemaker. He was the one who made my wedding shoes and his wedding shoes. And shoes for my mother to wear to the wedding. And shoes also for my Uncle Charlie, because I remember my Uncle Charlie gave him a pair of shoes to make. And he made that shoes. And my Auntie Lou gave him a pair of boots to make. And he made those. You know, he was a very, very good shoemaker.
So at which point then did you and Grandad make the conscious choice to think, right, okay, we may want to move to the UK? How did that come about?
With things being so hard all the time, and they'll keep wishing and hoping that, you know, he would get a card. In those days, they used to give cards to go to America for farm work. And Handel was always hoping and wishing that he would get a card to go to work in America. In those days it was 6 months a year, etc. But he never get the card. And while he was in Jamaica, then England opened up, because the man there come to Jamaica, and there was a man who said, England want you and all that sort of way. And then there was also another man, Powell. Powell came to Jamaica and asked for Jamaicans to come to England to clean it up, because at that time the war had just finished.
Was that Enoch Powell?
Enoch Powell.
Enoch Powell, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So everybody now was coming to England. Everybody coming, selling up, and then we have this thing that come in Jamaica called the Bauxite Company, and people who have lands begin to sell lands and so on and come to England. But my poor Handel, he never have any lands or so. And although he asked his father Albert if he could, sell piece of his land and loan him the money to go to England, or sell a cow and loan him the money, not Albert. And so it went on and on till Raymond, that died in Birmingham.
Who was Raymond?
Raymond was his younger brother.
So that's Grandad's youngest brother?
Yes, yeah, okay. Granddad's youngest son. Granddad's youngest brother.
Youngest brother, but
yes.
he was his dad's youngest son. Yeah, okay.
So he came to England because Kenneth came from America and loaned him the money to come to England.
Wow.
But Kenneth did not know that Handel wanted to come to England. Otherwise, he would have loaned him the money. But Raymond had already borrowed the money from Kenneth, and Kenneth gave him the money. So Raymond came, and then Kenneth told Raymond, when he make that money back, is to send it to Handel, to come to England. Loan him to come to England. Raymond make back the £45 and send it to the travel service. He didn't send it to Handel. Luckily, God knows why, because perhaps with the hardships we were in, Handel might have used it. The £45 was at the travel service for months, but Handel could not make up the other 45. It was £95 to come, but Handel couldn't make up the other 45 pounds to come. Handel went to his father and asked him if he could loan him the money or borrow the money from somebody and loan him, because he had cows, he had cows and so on, and donkey and so. But Albert wouldn't do it. What they did, they sent Elvie instead, for they said, with Handel being married, Handel will have me to look after children, whereas if he comes here, he will look after me and the children. Instead of Elvie not married, she will come. She's going straight into nursing, and she would send back the money.
And who was Elvie? Was that a sister, or who was Elvie?
El.
Who was she?
Handel's sister.
Right, she was a sister.
That was Johnny's mother.
Right, I see.
Sister Ray.
Right.
The one that died in London the other day.
Okay. So at which point then did Grandad actually get to the UK? Like, what year did he eventually end up coming?
He came here in 1960, this September.
Okay, and he came on his own initially?
No. In the end, the 45 pound was still there. So, and they couldn't get the money, and they asked Colbert to borrow the money. And then they wouldn't do it. Even, so what he did, Colbert have cows, and the same Vida there, you know, I'm in love and then, the same Vida, tell one day when they'll go down, Colbert tell him this Sunday, say must come, and he going go see if that Andel depending on him that Sunday to go and borrow the money from this man. And he no go. And Pwande left all the way from Armadale and go down to retirement. And it rained that day as if the heavens opened, all that day. And we were up Armadale. And Holbert come back in the night when Handel wait. And Holbert come back. And they'll no go borrow the money from the man. And tell and come back and make Handel no say no get the money. The man say if he may come when. So Vida never do one thing when Handel come back the night. Disheartened and they walk round. For him, she living on the road, you see. And he was coming back the night so disheartened and told Vida that Albert say no get the money. So Vida say, brother then, a lie and they tell you a lie. So he say, let me tell you something. The cow, you had the cow them tie up this. So let me tell you, maybe make one of the boy for Wilhelm. You know William. William come a granddad funeral.
Who was William?
And the uncle, Vida's son.
Right, okay.
One of the son. And he say, the cow tie right up at the roadside. Loose the cow when you dey go Armadale and carry and go sell it. For if you left it down here, you not go get it for playing the play with you. So that was what Handel did. On his way, coming back to me, he lose the cow, he go lose one of the cow. For no, in a cow, you know. So he go lose one of the cow. That the cow, and LV, he say, send the money out to him to buy one cow calf for Johnny. So, he never do one thing, one lose the cow and William drive the cow and carry it up. And the first, as they come out on the road, he see two butchers, ask him if he sell the cow, and he say yes. And he say him be buy. So there and then the butcher, one of them say he must come the morning. It's saying he must meet him out at Charlton MP and the other one. So and they said, look, I need so much money to make up my fare to go to England. And I'm not asking for more, I'm not asking for less. If you'll pay me the amount, I'll sell you the cow. But him, they barter. So he sell the man that paid him the full amount, the cow calf. And then when he came back in this country, he sent the money back and give him for pay and feed him out there and all.